What drug ruined your family? My grandmother got addicted to opioids. When my uncle, her son, was dying of stomach cancer, she stole his morphine. Heroin and alcohol. Parents' alcohol and little brother followed with alcohol and heroin. OD'd and died in a Kroger parking lot. Alcohol seems to be bringing us some challenges lately. Alcohol and Benadryl. Mom is borderline dementia and it was pretty much self-caused by taking 10 to 15 Benadryl a day. Alcohol's second mom doesn't know how to put the bottle down. Doctor said if she keeps pace her pancreas will give out in a year. She refuses to put the bottle down. This woman puts vodka in her wine. My dad has always been addicted to food. I know it's not commonly seen as an addiction, but it definitely is in his case. Sister got into heroin and turned to prostitution. Haven't seen her in years. Alcohol and opiates. My father was an alcoholic. One of the smartest men I've ever known, but alcohol destroyed him and of course broke our family. Years later my youngest sister has major medical issues and was prescribed oxycodone. She became severely addicted and eventually died of an overdose. No surprise I'm an alcoholic who had a few run-ins with the law. After the last one I got myself to AA. Much to my surprise. I haven't had a drink since September 9, 2007, so I've got that going for me. Which is nice. I was severely addicted to alcohol and gamma-hydroxybutyrate. It took everything. But my life, I was alive. But I certainly wasn't living. I have been sober for over 2 years now. And life is great. It took a ton of work building back my life. But I am one of the fortunate ones and I can't say the same for many of the people I have met throughout my journey to recovery. Today, most days are fantastic. I may have some bad moments. But I never have a bad day. My family has me back in their lives. And I couldn't be more grateful to have them back in mine. As a foster parent in the Midwest, every kid that's come into our home has been due to meth. Meth. It is still the single biggest mistake of my life and I wish so badly I could go back and stop myself. My kids and my dad pay the ultimate price as my dad adopted my kids. Within the last year I have finally been allowed to talk to them and visit with them. Even got to spend 3 whole months with them while I was taking care of my dad after his prostate cancer surgery. We finally got to spend our first Halloween, Thanksgiving, and Christmas together as a sober and happy family. 4 years sober and counting. If you're struggling, please reach out. Seems to be a bit of an alcohol problem running about. Edited to add. Y'all. This week has been so incredibly hard. My wife's birthday is Friday. My dear friend lost her son to an overdose. I felt lost and inadequate. Just not enough for all of my babies. And so incredibly worried about my son. Thank you, all of you, for all of your words. For your personal stories. You made me feel less alone. Hopeful. I love you for that. I will never give up on him, he's the bright light of our family. Heroin. I have 8 kids. My oldest son became an IV heroin user. Put him through rehab twice. The first time he walked out. The second time he stayed. He got clean, then my wife died very suddenly and traumatically in front of all of us. I thought for sure that he would relapse. He didn't. He was there to hold me up. Then 3 months later he met a girl who is an addict. I've lost him again to his addiction. So I wait for any type of phone call or communication. I make sure to follow up on reports of overdoses. Keep my ringer on at night and check the jail population every morning. One day he will come home. I know it. Alcohol. Sadly. When I was a teenager it really looked like my cannabis use was the big issue drug-wise. Turns out my brother's and father's slow burn of alcoholism over the years did far more damage than they were aware of. For the record, my dad doesn't drink at all now. My brother sits with a consistent 9+ points on his driver's license. Alcohol. Mobile games. My parents are always on their devices playing some inane game like Candy Crush. They don't know how to sit still, be silent, or be bored anymore. And they thought millennials were the ones rotting our brains out with technology. Meth. Parents were big partiers. Tried meth on a whim and it tore their relationship to shreds. Still to this day, every time I see a couple fighting I get major flashbacks to them beating the shit out of each other. Therapy rules. Sugar. I got family with diabetic predispositions that just couldn't get their compulsions for sweets in check, and it led to bad health and cut their lives short. Manufactured outrage. Narcissism and alcohol. Amphetamines. My dad got arrested when I was 16 after taking speed and evading the cops. The pills were from my mom, who was massively overprescribed by a quack psychiatrist who has since been jailed for extremely irresponsible prescribing free samples. Closing parenthesis. The pills gave her treatment-resistant psychosis which has lasted for years. She shouldn't have been prescribed them considering she had a history of psychosis. Formed an addiction. She just got out of a long stay in inpatient and seems to be doing better now and off the pills. My dad still goes on binges, so that's scary. Alcohol and gambling. He's dead now. Mom is doing good. Facebook. Coke, fentanyl, killed my kid's mother, and this was only back in September. It's been a hard year. I don't think it's been said yet, so let me put this out there. Alcohol. Nah, but seriously. I can't believe this, the legal one. Edit. Yeah, I know alcohol has a deeply rooted societal value in our world and can't just be banned like that. I was more commenting on the still high incarceration rate due to marijuana usage, not saying marijuana does not have the ability to destroy families. All in all, I would like to congratulate drugs on winning the war on drugs, stolen, and believe decriminalization should be more seriously explored with rehab instead of prison time for victims. Moreover, decriminalization doesn't mean that the human filth that run the drug game recruiting underprivileged kid to go and sell drugs, poisoning countries and benefiting off this epidemic shouldn't be beheaded. Meth and cocaine. Frowning face. Dopamine. Meth. My mother at the time when she got addicted, she sold our big house to move us into a trailer park so she could be neighbors with her dealer, and after a year we were broke. No heat, water or electricity most of the time, and she still does it to this day and wonders why I moved out and don't talk to her. Ruined? Tobacco. 2 grandparents who died of COPD-related issues. 2 parents with severe COPD. My mom, stepmom, aunts and uncle all have or died from smoking-related heart issues, and my husband quit smoking. Replaced it with sugar, then gained 75 pounds and is getting tested for diabetes on Wednesday. Parents smoked while pregnant and continued to do so in the house and car while both my brother and I were infants, so who knows what that did to our health long term. Alcohol and religion. Specifically the Jehovah's Witnesses. My parents are going back to the faith after all these years. They might never be allowed to talk to me again once they figure out I'm apostate. Gambling. Oxygen. Whole damn family can't get off the stuff until they draw their last breath. Probably not what you're looking for. But sugar. My dad has type 2 diabetes. And my brother and sister are the roots to getting it themselves. I think everyone in my family has some type of eating disorder. My sister is 11 and is pre-diabetic. My mom's been working really hard to not body shame and teach her proper nutrition. But my sister doesn't seem to care. My dad is always on some fad diet. Most being about restricting large portions of food. His diabetes is under control. But I won't say his relationship with food is anything near good. I'm terrified of developing diabetes strictly because I live in America and can't afford it. I know how much my dad pays for his medicine and I really can't imagine paying that much. Food addictions are hella hard to overcome because you have to eat. Meth and sex. My dad, openly gay man, started going to beats in the 90s. He would leave my brother and I in the car while he went to the toilet at parks. We were early teens, but we knew. Dad and his cousin were joking around, and I remember overhearing a conversation about an STI, but nothing really clicked. Looking back, I understand he was catching STIs from his adventures. As I got older, I knew he hung out at certain locations, sand dunes on a nudist beach, and as things changed. Online connections. He was in long-term relationships, but that never stopped him. He would tell us he was off to the chiropractor and would come back 8 hours later. But we don't think it was his back being readjusted. He eventually moved overseas after his relationship dissolved due to him cheating. He found another relationship again. But his behavior didn't stop. When he came home, he would spend more time having coffee with friends or at the chiropractor. Always the chiropractor. We all know. He thinks we don't. But do we know? My brother went to visit him overseas, and that's when we found out the extent of his lifestyle. My brother is also gay. And Dad was shooting up in front of him and having men around. One of Dad's guests invited my brother to join in. Which obviously, he didn't, and moved into a hotel for the rest of his trip. We also found out my dad is HIV positive and has tertiary syphilis for over 10 years. HIV for about 7. He tells us he contracted HIV from a bike accident where someone bled on him or bad blood transfusion. The story changes because he thinks we're idiots. He is blind, suffers memory issues, has arm infections every month, and suffers from paranoid delusions. He thinks he is being monitored by them. He is aggressive and abusive. He pulls knives on his current husband. My dad used to be funny, intelligent, owned a successful company that he lost due to this lifestyle. He forgets our birthdays and other details of our lives, such as the existence of his 13-year-old grandchild. He used to be able to hear a song and play it by ear. But meth and sex. I think he goes to a lot darker places than I am 100% aware of. There has been some hints I have picked up and some sickening suspicions I have. The hardest part for me is that I am gay too, and this behavior from him has caused these weird internalized homophobia issues. He is the gay the conservatives fear, and I feel tarnished because I strive for a boring life of job, partner, house, kid. I view him as a walking dead man. Alcohol for my father, heroin for my mother, and then cocaine for myself, laughing face. But my mom got addicted to painkillers. One year it was 150 trips to the seeking drugs. If a normal person would match her pill for a day, you would OD before noon. She believed that with modern medicine a person should never have to feel pain at all because there are pills for that. Now she is crippled and only feels pain. But the thing that really messed us up was religion. Fundamentalist Christian is a poor choice. God created the universe 6,000 years ago for moral U.S. Republicans to rule types. Mushrooms. Have a certain segment of the extended family that started taking mushrooms pretty much daily. And have descended into complete insanity. Obsession over every conspiracy you can think of. Lizard people in the government. Little mind control robots in the vaccine. Wearing masks is the real reason people are dying. The government is coming for them and is going to put them all in concentration camps for some reason. We live in Canada, by the way. Now it's chemtrails. We've been having headaches more often. The only explanation is the government is using airplanes to poison the atmosphere. Of course the headaches couldn't possibly be from taking brain-altering substances every day. They are planning on selling everything they own and moving to a community, cult, in the middle of the woods somewhere up north where the chemtrails and government won't be able to find them. I wouldn't care as much if they didn't have 2 young kids that they're dragging along into this nonsense. The worst part is, it's made them think they're the only ones who know the real truth. They've taken God's medicine, as they call it, and see everything for how it really is. And anyone who doesn't agree with them is brainwashed by the government. I have a weed-addicted GF. A lot of dipshits on here probably continue to believe the false rumor of it being non-addictive. She starts her day smoking a full blunt or 2. Smokes on her way to work. Smokes on her way back. Smokes before dinner. Smokes after dinner. Then smokes 1 or 2 blunts before bed. This is daily. Every day since I've met her. Almost 6 years ago. I have begged and pleaded for years for her to at least try cutting down. She can't do it. It renders her almost useless. She just smokes and sleeps. She hasn't been able to hold a job consistently. She has depression. But I know for a fact that mixing weed with her medications and an unhealthy dose of Dr. Pepper all day is not making shit better. I hate when people embrace the whole hippie pothead culture, because it's not as harmless or non-addictive as they make it out to be. Effexor, venlafaxine. Opiates. Honestly? Weed. I know it's not addictive. But I attribute my dad's inattentiveness and lack of memory to his marijuana habits. My wife's ass. I'm addicted to that onion booty. So good it make you want to cry, crying loudly crying. Cocaine. Took me more than a decade clean to sort of get my family back. Nicotine. But also alcohol, as many others are saying. The smoke growing up. I had no idea that I smelled bad to all my friends, classmates, because I lived in it. I had bronchitis, pneumonia more than once as a child. My siblings and I were always sick. Thought we got car sick. But we were just stuck with two parents chain smoking on road trips. Won't go anywhere they can't smoke. Have to stop any and all activities so they can smoke. Their mind is and was constantly on their next cigarette. They stopped drinking. But the nicotine is still killing them. Literally. They're older now and dying from it. Alcohol. Both parents drank more than they should. And at times drank too much. Always. It was have a glass of wine or a beer at dinner. Then might as well finish the bottle because it's open. My mother had gastric bypass and would get drunk fast. First it was humorous. But then it just became really sad. I've had to peel her off the floor or remove her from a situation way too many times. I don't know if your brain is all scrambled from like all the Molly you take. But I never said that. Doctor here, just to note that completely legal substances like alcohol, tobacco and opioids, prescribed, seem to be the biggest factors in tearing families apart. I have never heard of a single case where marijuana, LSD or psilocybin, which are all federally illegal, come even close. Politicians in this country aren't waging a drug war for any moral reasons. They aren't protecting the public from the real evils of addiction out there. We need to seriously restructure our priorities when it comes to legalization and treating addiction like a disease rather than a criminal act. Not my family. But someone I know is heavily addicted to NyQuil. Gets little to no sleep even after a bottle every night. In turn scrambles his mental state. Has told me he spends hundreds of dollars buying bottle, which also financially burdens his family. Heroin and alcohol. On my mother's side, her father died before I was born due to alcoholism. The same happened to my uncle. My aunt was heroin and alcohol. And my coolest and funniest uncle OD'd on heroin while my cousin, his son, was living with my family due to loss of custody. On my father's side of the family, my uncle died of heroin and one of my cousins had OD'd several times before finding a rehab program that worked. But his brother likes to drink too much and go on racist rants. They're both NC now because the rehab cousin married a Latino woman and his brother would call going on rants about poisoning the bloodline. Edit. Heroin and alcohol have killed so much of my family and tore so much more of it apart. I refused to even try drinking until I was 21. I was even more afraid to try weed. Mormonism, a psychological drug. Fucking weed. My parents and I smoke multiple times daily. We all complain about lack of funds and energy. It's frustrating to be lost in a mindless high because of the desire to be mindless. Choctaw Nation slot machines. Oxy, rampant in my family. All in recovery for the most part. Thanks Kratom. Some upper, I don't know which one. It wasn't meth, I know that much. Father was addict and the damage was large. Last we spoke he was clean and I didn't care. I have a cousin who stroked out on meth. He was the biggest funniest dude. Nothing but love and shenanigans all the time. Now he can barely walk and have no control of his emotions. Fuck. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop a like. If you would like to see more content like this in the future, subscribe and turn on notifications to be notified about future videos. Now check out one of these interesting videos.